Hello guys and welcome to this video. Now I'm super excited today to announce that this is my latest watch design that's going to be a watchmaking kit from Namokimods. Now Namokimods is one of the biggest mod stores out there. They're based in Singapore. They have some of the best parts available for Seiko modding and making custom watches. And they've recently, over the last year or two, started developing watchmaking kits where you get all of the parts you need to make a watch and all the tools at a bundle price, which is really affordable, fun to do, and of course, it is perfect for any watch enthusiast and even gifts for watch enthusiasts as well. Now, if you're looking for a new summer project, this could be it. This is my own design. When they asked me to do this, of course, being based in Dubai, I had to pick an Arabic dial design, and I absolutely love Namoki's ice blue Arabic with those blue metallic numbers and matching Dauphine hands. This has been a really popular dial choice for some of my clients around the world, and honestly, I could not make this watch for less than they're charging for this kit right now. The full kit price is going to be around $300, but in its launch week, which happens to be Namokimod's birthday as well, they're giving away 20% discount on their full watchmaking kits. That's all the parts plus the tools, the bracelet, the day date and Arabic movement, everything. Honestly, I could never get that sort of price when I was making these watches before for clients. So this is a fantastic offer and a great opportunity to have a go if you haven't already done so. Now, I've got a full video coming up showing you step by step exactly how to put this thing together. But just a quick overview, and the reason I put this watch list together was because I needed a simpler design that really celebrates that gorgeous dial in 38 millimeters. It's an Explorer style case. It has 100 meter water resistance with a screw down crown. It sits around 11 millimeters thick. It's got a flat sapphire crystal, a solid oyster style bracelet with a milled clasp, screwed links, solid end links. It's pretty much got every spec that you would want in a watch like this, an Explorer field style watch, but it's got that gorgeous dial as well. And most collectors will like an Arabic dial in their collection, and now is your chance to actually make it for yourself. So massive thanks to Namoki for helping me do this. I'm all about their watchmaking kits and educating people in the world of watchmaking or modding. Please do follow my progress on svkwatches.ae. I used to have the handle Seiko Mods Dubai. I've moved that to Twitter now, but you can also follow me on Instagram, svkwatches.ae, and check out my website, which is the same name, that has all of my latest work and links to various other things. Thanks, guys, and enjoy the show. Please let me know if you do decide to go ahead and build this, and let me know what you think of the design in the comments. So all the parts here are ready to go. I've just unpackaged them all. When you get parts from Namoki, they come in these neat little tins, which can be useful for storage later. You get their warranty information and stickers as well. And we are going to actually start with the movement. Now this is an NH36 movement, and it already has the Arabic day date, which is quite unusual for a start as well. You would be able to order this without the Arabic date if you prefer, of course, but as always, the day comes in both languages, so you don't need to be a fluent Arabic speaker to use the watch. Either way, we are going to use the movement in a movement holder here. You don't have to have a movement holder. You can get away without one, or you can use the included sort of screw type you get in the kit. I just like to use this simple movement holder when I'm putting stuff together. So I've got the movement set sat into there. We are just going to move some of these parts around a little bit and look at the dial. Now, I absolutely love this dial. This was the real inspiration for the build, and it doesn't show up so good under these bright studio lights, but you can see those numbers are this gorgeous metallic blue, and the rest of the dial is this lovely light sky blue color, and it really does look like a glacier, an ice cube, an ice blue. I love the fact as well that we have matching hands. So how do we get this dial onto this movement? Well, it's quite straightforward. I would always recommend just using some included tweezers to get the dial out of this little thing and not try and pick it up by the edges so as not to scratch it. I'm also wearing gloves here. You can use the finger cots they supply. I just find gloves a little more comfortable. On the back of a Seiko mod style dial, we will have usually 2 sets of pins. What we're going to do first is take some simple side cutters and cut away this one. Now I'm being careful not to drop it as I'm cutting it and get it out of the way. I've got all the other parts underneath, but of course you could do this somewhere else to be safe. And I'm just trying my best to cut it as low as I can with the side cutters. Just wiggle it a little bit. Now that will be enough, even if it protrudes just slightly. It's not like here, for example, it's not really going to be a big deal. You could file it with a little file as well on the back. But as this is a simple build, I'm just going to go ahead and drop it on the movement. The movement has holes opposite. If you've got the crown at 3, it's around sort of 2 o'clock and 7 o'clock. There are these little holes in the movement spacer ring. And if we were to just drop that one in so, and then locate them, you should be able to simply press it down. And you can see it does already align the day date for you as long as you cut the right pins off. Might be worth just checking that beforehand. At this point, I'm going to look at the day date and what position the movement is currently in. So what we're going to do is firstly just give it a wind. So in the standard position, it should just let you wind the movement. And then if we pull it all the way out, the crown, and start going clockwise with it, it should eventually flick over. So we've got the next date there, and a little bit later we've got the day starting to change, and it will eventually go back to the English version. Now what we want to do is basically keep winding until the date starts to change, then slow down. This way we're going to find 12 on the movement, and that's where we're going to set our first hand. So as I keep going here, should be any time now. There we go. We see the date start to change. There we go. That is where I'm going to set my hour hand right up. Now we've got the date in the right place on the movement, we are going to pick up the first hand, which is the hour hand. For this, I'm going to use a little bit of Rodico. This is the green sort of putty that you get with the watchmaking kit as well, so you don't need to buy it separately, although Namoki do sell this in a pack, and it's super useful. But we are just going to try to drop the hour hand straight over here onto 12. Now, as you can see, I need to shift it a little bit. The key thing is to try and make sure that the circular hole on the hand is central on the pin and that it's pointing to 12, and then we're simply going to press it down. Now, I'm going to flip the camera a bit so you guys can see that a little better. Okay guys, so back in the room we have a black-ended hand setting tool here. This is the exact one you would get in the watchmaking kit. Now I'm going to try to hold the movement steady and do this first time. So we're simply going to hold this straight above the hand and depress the hand down onto that movement pin, like so. You can see it pushes neatly down straight onto that central part. And at this point, you of course want to check how you've done by looking down the side of the movement. I can see it is a little higher at the tip of the second hand there, so it could probably do with an extra little push. Let's have a go at that. And just try and straighten it from that central position. Now, it is a little hard for me to check this through the camera, so I will do so, and then we'll come back for the minutes hand. All right, guys, so yes, I have just pressed it one more time to get it nice and flat. For the minutes, I personally like to actually advance the hour to 6 o'clock. So we're just going to go ahead and flick it round. You can see the day sort of changes at 3 o'clock here, and I'm going to try and position myself so I can see where exactly 6 o'clock would line up with the hour. And I'm going to look at adding the minutes hand here, again picking it up with the Rodico and placing it on the pin in the middle. Sometimes it helps to hold on to it. And we are trying to align it, of course, so that it points straight up. Okay guys, here is the minutes hand now, and I've tried to get it as close to level as I can. We're going to do the exact same process. Keep my hands out of the way. And you can see, hopefully, just about that it is pushed down, similar amount of force, not a big sort of hard stabbing motion or anything like that. Like, try and keep it as gentle as you can, because you don't want to push the hand too far down. And you are looking for a nice bit of clearance, like so, throughout the hands. Now at this point, I'd be keen to check how we did. So if I simply rotate the movement, you can see the gorgeous color there as well of these hands as it goes round. And it is quite a forgiving dial because there aren't very clear hour markers on here. So even if you're a little bit out, it's not going to be the end of the world. But you can see at 12, as we approach the minutes, I'd say that was pretty much spot on. And let's see how we did with the date change. Now, there is always going to be a room for error here, so don't worry if yours isn't bang on, and I'm not going to worry about this one either. But as we get round to midnight, you can start to see the date change. And when does it actually switch over? Or just before midnight. Now, I'm happy with that. If you were particularly anal about it, you could reset the hands and keep trying until you get it bang on midnight. Realistically, though, I wouldn't worry about it because you risk damaging the hands every time you remove them, and the dial, and so on. And all of that date change depends on how good your hour hand is, not the minute hand. So that is a bit of a challenge, and it is a bit of a lottery whether you're going to get it first time or not. So you can see it's running exactly as it should be, so I'm really happy. Now the last one is going to be the seconds hand. Again, we're still in that time setting mode. We're going to pick up the seconds hand. So here's how I set the seconds hand. This is my own method. I found that most successful is to put a piece of Rodico underneath the front of the seconds hand and kind of maneuver it into place whilst floating above the middle. So what we're trying to do is line up the pin on the end of the seconds hand, on the middle of the seconds hand, to the rest of the movement. Once I've got it into position, I'm just going to take a flat-ended tool and push everything down. So let me maneuver it from the top view here to see if I can get it in the right place. Now, to me, this looks at, from the top at least, approximately right. Now for this, I'm going to use a simple flat-ended tool. There is a similar tool in Namoki's set, but to be honest, you can use anything with a flat end here. Let me try and get my hands in a position where you can see again, and we are just going to push down gently, and you might find there is a little sweet spot where it will start to depress. And then if we look from the side, we can check the position of that hand. And another simple test is to remove the Rodico and run the movement and see if it is spinning. Now it is moving. I'm not convinced it's fully flat in, but another little tip is to actually let it run for about 30 seconds just to get it into a different position in relation to the rest of the hands, and then give it another push. Meanwhile, you can also check the clearance between the seconds. Now this one is way too high up currently, so it does need to press in a little bit more. So I'm just going to get it up here, for example, stop the movement again, and try and give it another push. I'll just rotate my hand slightly so you can see better. I think that's about right. So we can also just maneuver the minutes hand just to check the clearance between them. Plenty of clearance. In fact, it needs to go a little bit further forward. So I'm just going to push it on the front side a little bit. Now you do want a nice bit of clearance like this, but you also don't want the hands to be coming up off the dial too much, because it might start rubbing on the glass and slowing the movement down once it's in the case. Overall though, I'm quite happy with this setup, and we can now see the movement and dial running beautifully. And of course, you guys know already, but I really love these colors, and I'm sure you guys do as well. Now, don't forget that little spot of Rodico here, we will need to remove. The simplest way is to dab the same Rodico all over it, and it will come right off. You will also want to clean up this dial and put it to one side as we start to look at the case. All right, guys, so we're back and we've got the case ready. I've just taken all the plastic and all the crown and everything out of it. It's now time to start putting the case over the movement. In order to do that, we need to remove the crown. Now, to do this, all you need to do, and this may seem a little daunting at first, but we are going to lift it out of its holder, or whatever it is you've been holding it up with. We're going to hold it and by the edge of that spacer, and we're going to look for, let me try and zoom in so you can see it, this little pin right here. There is a little circle. Hopefully you guys can see that okay. Now I like to do this with a really small tool like a movement stem. So this is a spare crown stem I've got lying around, but you could use a spring bar tool or similar, and the movement is still running, by the way. The seconds are running away in underneath, so I don't want to take too long with this. I'm just going to hold it like so, push down with my forefinger there, and then pull the crown out as I do that. That way we can release a crown from a movement, even if it's running and upside down. You can, of course, place this back in a movement holder, but because this is quite a straightforward job, I was happy to hold it. Now, the movements are really robust, by the way, so you don't need to worry about touching the back of the movement like I am now, as long as you are careful not to touch or press on the balance wheel there and the hairspring. That will not affect the quality of the movement or the running accuracy and so on. Seiko movements are really robust, and that's why many watchmakers start on Seiko movements in particular. Now, what I'm going to do next is simply put this on a casing cushion. Again, you don't have to have a casing cushion. Namoki do sell them, but you want to cover this style just temporarily with something, and this is where Namoki's own pots come in very handy. And we can have a look at the case. This is a lovely, simple 38mm case. Because there's so much going on with that gorgeous dial and handset, I wanted to keep the case really straightforward. And 38mm will fit pretty much any wrist size. I have a pretty big wrist, and I can just about get away with this case size as well myself. It's got a flat sapphire crystal, a nice brushed chapter ring, a screw down crown. It's only about 11.5mm thick when it's put together, so it's a really great case size for pretty much anything. Namoki do have some more interesting cases out there as well, but for this design I really wanted to stick to a classic Explorer style, which is why I picked this one. What we're going to need to do, well, we don't need to do that much actually, because the crystal is already fitted. And that's another huge benefit of these watchmaking kits and sets from Namoki, because you don't really need to do anything to the case apart from fit the crown. We are going to drop this case straight onto that movement set. We just need to make sure it's fully clean. To do that, you should get a blower with your kit. I've got this older one that I'm just used to using. I'm just going to adjust my light so you can see this a bit better. Hopefully you might be able to see it up on the camera. It is already quite clean, but I like to shine the light directly down the crystal this way, and that seems to pick up the most dirt with the light. And then we are just going to blow like crazy all up inside here, just to remove any dust and make sure our crystal is clean from the inside. I'm trying not to touch the crystal with the end of this, or even use any cloth or anything like that, unless there's a really big smudge. But we are just trying our best to clean it, because the last thing you want to do is have to undo your mod because of some dirt inside the glass. Next, we're going to return our dial, and we're going to give this all a good blow over as well. One last time for the case. I'll try and zoom in here as well. We are just going to drop the case straight over the movement, and I'm just focusing on the right here where we've got the crown stem sort of slightly sticking into the center of the watch, so I want to make sure that that's not going to scratch the dial in any way, and it goes in the right place. And then we should just be able to push down, and you can feel a little bit of resistance there helping you out. It's actually stuck into the case really nicely. Now I'm just gently going to flip it over and have a look from the underside. Now here it is fine to push on the middle like I just did on this screw part here that's holding the rotor on, and that click was it just engaging in the right place over here where the crown would be. So now when we flip it round, you should have your first look at the watch all put together. Now this is also an opportunity to just watch it for a moment and check that that second hand is rotating freely around the dial and it's not getting stuck anywhere. Of course, we'll keep an eye on that as we go, but that is already looking lovely. I really can't wait to get this thing finished and on my wrist. So next up is crown fitting. We've got a screw down crown ready to attach to this case, and it is a crown on its own. It doesn't have what's called a crown stem. In my right hand here is a crown stem, and this is going to screw into the crown, and then the crown's going to screw into the case. So how do we fit this little thing, this stem, into the crown? Well, first we actually need to cut it down. Simple way to cut it is just to use a pair of pliers with a wire cutting bit on the center, like so. And we are just going to cut first to start with. I would always go about halfway down the thread. We are more than likely going to have to cut this down to about 14 millimeters from this end, but just to try, I'm going to go down about halfway, like so, and then I'm going to squeeze while sort of pulling on it a little bit, just to try and get a cleaner break in the crown stem. Then we are simply going to screw this on. Now you can file the end, and you should, to smooth it all out. It's a little bit tricky with these gloves at this angle, but we have got it on. Just to get a feel for how it's going to go before you cut the final one. The last thing you want to do is cut it too short and end up having to wait for another crown stem before you can finish your watch. So I've got it on here. If you use a pair of pliers, or tweezers, sorry, you can use the top part and squeeze down as a little pin vise. So it's really easy to clamp it in the square bit of the crown stem there and tighten it. Do not over tighten this crown. I've just gone as far as I can comfortably go without really having to force it. I have broken these crowns before by pushing it too far, and you really don't need them that tight, and you also don't need to glue them or anything like that. I've never done it for any of the watches I've made in the last few years. That's hundreds of watches. I've never had a crown come off because it wasn't glued. Just a good amount of pressure, so it's not going to unscrew on its own, is enough. Now, once we've got our crown cut and fastened, you are simply going to insert it back through this hole into the movement. You might take you a few presses before you can feel that winding again, and when you pull on it, You can feel the date change, the time changing, and so on. Now this I know for sure is way too long. So like I said, it's better to be safe than sorry. We are going to have to take this one out again. So I'm just going to pull it out and recut it down. So I've got the crown fitted really well. So when it's unscrewed, you've got this little bit of movement to push it in. It feels like it's doing its job. And when you screw it down, so a little bit of pressure and turning will get it super flat up against the case and equally on the front. Now, when you're operating the watch, it's a little harder with gloves, but when you're operating the watch and setting the time, you should just be able to, in one push, get it back to the first position without it catching on anything and feeling good. And when you're screwing it in, it should feel quite smooth, like so. And my gloves are getting caught on there, but I am really quite happy with that length. That was 13.6 millimeters for the crown stem for this particular version. It's okay to be a little bit over that. It just means you have to push it a bit more when you wind it back in. So the last point on here, and we're going to have to say goodbye to this lovely movement view. We've got a solid case back here. You can actually choose a sapphire case back though from Namoki as well, which I'll link in the description. If you want to admire the movement and your hard work for future watches or even this one, you can upgrade it to a sapphire case back. Now your case back should either way, or your case will include a gasket, which is slightly stuck on here. But the gasket simply goes into the little ring underneath the watch in the case about there. So they should be in the right shape to sort of fit nicely. And then you're going to take your case back and drop it on here. Now you should have also, by this point, I believe the new watchmaking kits come with loops. They won't come with lights, of course, though. So you may wish to make sure you've got some really bright lights to check your dial for any dust before you screw it all together. So I'm just going to lightly screw it on by hand, just checking it's all flat. And then we're going to inspect the front of the watch by cleaning off any surface lint or dust or fingerprints, and really bright lights. And again, that little technique of pointing the light down here to clean it up fully. But I'm really happy with this. I knew it was going to look good. I've built this watch before, and now I'm so pleased to be able to give you the watchmaking kit in collaboration with Namokimods to make your own version of this. It's a super unique watch, and I definitely recommend, of course, everyone try it. I think they've done a great job with the price too. It's not too expensive to considering what you're getting in terms of parts. I've always spent more than the price of this kit on the parts to make something similar. So let's have a final little run through the operation before I tighten everything, and that is going to be checking that the dates lines up, which it does. We'll have to keep it on Arabic for now, and this is a nice opportunity to learn Indo-Arabic numerals, numbers, and of course the screw down crown is working nicely. When you tighten it all up, this case will give you about 100 meters of water resistance. This, because the crystal's already fitted, you can pretty much guarantee that. And in fact, Namoki, I'm sure, will keep to their word on their water resistance ratings. So I'm just using Namoki's included tool, and it's not my favorite design, to be honest. I typically use something a little bit more robust like this one. But it is essentially the same thing. We've got some teeth there which should slot into the little pins, and then we're just going to tighten it as tight as we can go on the back. Now I may tighten this with my own tool a little bit better later, but you can see really quite a thin case profile with the case back fully screwed on. You do want to check that there's no gaskets sticking out anywhere, or it's not level, or if it was rough going in. That's another little test to do. Now, finally, we get to put on the bracelet and complete our watch in a really quick video, this actually, for what we're making here. The bracelet, I'm not going to size it just yet, but you guys may know already, this is not a super difficult task. We are actually going to pull out in fact, where's my crown stem? I'm going to use a crown stem here just to pop out the spring bars. And you do actually get a spare set of spring bars, it seems, but we're going to use the ones that come from the case. And we're going to pop them in. And I can usually do this just with my fingers without a spring bar tool. But you can just massage them into place like so. And interestingly, this is an SKX13 or SKX013 bracelet, just with some custom end links that go onto this particular case. And usually you would have to buy all that separately, but fortunately Namoki has included that from the beginning for us. So we are just going to attach the other side, and I really can't wait to show you the first wrist shot of this. And of course we'll close out the video there. So guys, there you have it. That is my full tutorial of building the Namokimods Ice Blue Arabic dial in 38mm. I love this thing, and I'm so pleased that I was chosen as one of the few people out there that get to design their own watchmaking kit and have it listed online. I'm honestly honored, Namoki. Thank you guys for giving me this opportunity. And I think all of your clients will be super happy with this watch design. Here it is on my quite large 7 3/4 inch wrist. I can still pull this off, and I will wear this one with pride because, of course, I made it, and now it has become a staple, I hope, on your store. Let's see how quickly these sell out, especially at that amazing 20% discount that Namoki are offering. So it's about $240 US with shipping to get this watch as a kit and all the tools. So don't delay, guys. It's not going to be around forever. The kits I've seen sell out before. Let's see if my design is one of the sold out options very soon. Thanks, guys, for watching. I appreciate all the support. Please do follow me on my new Instagram. That's svkwatches.ae. You'll see this logo there. Check out my store as well for any of my own creations, and keep an eye out on my channels because I may well be giving 1 or 2 of these away in the next few months. Thanks for all your support again. I'll see you next time.